Happy Friday, Miami. This is Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, also founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. It's Friday, it's 4 o'clock, and we're going to be talking South Florida real estate, especially Miami real estate. My co-host, Daniel Hernandez over at Compass Real Estate. Daniel's office is in Coconut Grove. He does single family houses. He also does condos. He is going to be the moderator for our presentation, our discussion. We're going to be talking about, you've all heard of Class B office space. You've heard of Class A. We're going to be talking Class X office space. We're also going to be talking about what's going on up in North Beach, new redevelopment going on. But I'll let Daniel take the baton, and he can kind of drive or steer the ship. What's going on, Daniel? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Peter. I like the new background. You're looking very professional.
Well, listen, I got a little bit of chewing gum, and I'm rubbing together some nickels and doing other things. I bought a computer off of a buddy. 20% of my screen is broken, therefore I got to dip down. But fortunately, it's
But the
able to
camera looks
broadcast pretty good.
fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm using a MacBook now. A MacBook, I think, is what it's called. I used to be using a PC. Now I think you can see the difference. Hopefully, it's going to improve the whole presentation. And because it's summer, this is what you do. You work, and you figure things out.
You look like $1,000,000. Well, hey, everybody. As Peter mentioned, my name is Daniel Hernandez. Peter Zalewski is up on top if you're watching on your mobile, and if you're watching on YouTube, he is to the left. So this show is called Buy, Sell, Hold Miami. And what we do, we have an interesting format. If you ever watch Pardon the Interruption on ESPN, we've picked a number of topics. We got an hour, and we've allocated about 7 minutes to each topic, as you can see in our rundown there. It's always going to be about South Florida real estate, and we're always going to talk about the community and how real estate and the current events and what those implications are for our greater real estate community. So this week, I want to jump right into it. Everybody knows Robert Ravani. If you don't know what he looks like by name, you probably know what he looks like by his hairstyle. He's got this really cool hairstyle. But even more than that, he's a self-proclaimed pioneer in something called Class X office space. And Peter, I don't know if you read into Class X office space, but I poked around a little bit, and so effectively, I see it as Google sort of pioneered this idea where, hey, we want people to be comfortable working long hours in the office. We want to make this as comfortable as possible, and this is more about than putting a foosball table and some granola bars in the break room. It's, they offer childcare, dry cleaning, and fully catered meals. And well, that's just the stuff I can think about off the top of my head. What Class X office space is, they like sprinkled the Miami sexiness into this whole concept. And so with their newly announced superstar tenant is Playboy. You might know Playboy from the nudie magazines that they no longer publish, by the way. They don't publish Full Frontal anymore. It's more now a lifestyle brand, and they have a ton of licensing. I don't know if it's family friendly enough for a branded condo in Miami, but hey, never say never.
Right.
So Playboy has announced that they're moving their headquarters from Los Angeles, from sunny California to sunny South Florida, and they're going to hang their hat or their blouse, I guess, because it's Playboy, over at the Ravani building on Michigan. The Ravani building, if you're not familiar with it, used to be called the Lincoln. He purchased it several years ago, and there's been all this hoopla about the tens of millions. I think he put $100 million renovating this building to attract tenants like Playboy. And so they're going to have the Playboy Club, and they're going to have all of these things to get, people who want to go to the office. Nobody wants to go to the office anymore. So my question to you is, well, would you lease in a Class X office space building? I don't know what the leasing terms are. I don't know what they're paying for it, but it's probably a heavy premium.
Interesting story, Daniel. I'll give you a little bit of history. So Playboy was actually founded in Chicago. Their headquarters were in Chicago. Hugh Hefner ultimately had his mansion, his Playboy mansion, out in Los Angeles. But so they were headquartered in Chicago, and they also were printed in Chicago. My father, when I was growing up, he was in the printers union. He worked, they printed like the Sun-Times, which is a daily. There's a tabloid, think New York Post. He also printed the Tribune. He printed some other publications. But what they also printed was Playboy. He used to print the Playboys that were distributed all over the country and possibly even all over the world back there, because Chicago was like this distribution center. So there's a long history between Chicago and Playboy, and I guess my family, because my father was involved with printing it back in the day. But at the time, they actually printed like Sears catalog, Sears Roebuck, if you remember them. Montgomery Wards. These might be names that predate you, but this is the way you used to buy stuff. This was Amazon before Amazon, if you will, because they send out these catalogs. They did all this type of stuff. So Playboy coming to Miami and Miami Beach, I think it makes all the sense in the world. If you look at Los Angeles versus you look at sort of the glitter and the glitz of Miami and Miami Beach, makes a lot more sense to be here. The problem is they're about 20 years too late. Playboy, I'm not sure that they even have a presence anymore. Maybe Playboy needs Miami and they need this developer and this office building owner who's got social media presence. Maybe they need him in Miami Beach more than Miami Beach really kind of needs Playboy. I think a lot of people
Wow.
sort of
Are
moved on.
you bullish on this? It's
Well,
sort of, I'm hearing
I'm
that you're bullish on this.
I think it's a positive. I think what I always say when I do my bus tours, and I tell people, listen, if you want family entertainment, you go to Orlando. You want adult entertainment, you come to Miami. This just plays into the whole hoopla of what Miami's all about. This is a city. I mean, it's a city that's all about the vice. It's a city all about the adults. This is how we lure people here. This is how we convince them to buy pre-construction condos named after a cabaret called the 11. This is Miami there's not a better fit. The question is, what the hell took them so long to come to the realization they need to have a presence here in South Florida rather than, stodgy Los Angeles?
That's a good point. I mean, how long ago did Hugh Hefner die? Is that about a decade ago now?
Yeah, it's probably something like that. Then I think the daughter took over. Yeah, I think the daughter took over at that point, and I think we pretty much just lost track of them. There were all these other public. I mean,
Well,
not to
we
get
got
raunchy.
OnlyFans to replace Playboy.
Yeah, so OnlyFans, we are, according to a report that came out, we're in terms of number of creators and presence, Miami is basically the top market for creators.
Well, I
But
mean,
I will.
OnlyFans is based here.
Oh, I didn't know that. Is that right? That
Yeah,
makes all sense in the world.
yeah, his originally OnlyFans wasn't supposed to be, what it's widely recognized for today. It was supposed to be for like music teachers who wanted to give guitar lessons. You could sign up kind of like Substack, but less article based and more sort of live interaction based. And then in its most recent iteration, what we know it all for today, yeah, that's all based here. And I guess to your point, who doesn't want to film and to live? And if you're making all this money, why wouldn't you want to live in Miami? You don't want to be OnlyFans in Cleveland.
Right, exactly. Tap into the natural resource that is Miami. Miami's a place that's all about
It's
beautiful
sexy.
people. It's pretty people. I mean, it doesn't matter if you go to buy a condo or if you go into any kind of CVS, you're going to see probably somebody much more attractive. Doesn't matter which sex. You're going to be much more attractive down here in South Florida than they will, let's say, in Cleveland, and
But
definitely more so in Chicago.
I think it's interesting, and I think it's worth talking about sort of the juxtaposition. So Class X office space, one might be able to say that it competes with Class A, or now we have like Class A plus office space over in Brickell. Now, I guess Ken's not soliciting tenants in his building because he hasn't built it yet. But I'll leave you to talk about that. And Playboy, I don't think would have been a good fit for sort of the Brickell set of Class A office space. Like, so Vladislav Dornin, Amon, Oak Oak Group, Masoni, he's building Una. He built 830 Brickell, which is the premier Class A office space in Brickell. Microsoft leased a bunch of space there. I think their last tenant was an investment bank out of Brazil, Banco Master, and they leased out at $190 a square foot. I mean, a lot of money. But do you see Playboy fitting into that wedge? No. So I think this Class X office space and the sexiness of the sand on Miami Beach and Robert Ravani's crazy haircut. I'm not knocking his haircut, by the way. I think it looks great. It looks great. It's a great look for Miami Beach. But those cultures don't really mix, and so this Class X office space, it's a product that supports this sort of, I wouldn't even call it progressive, but maybe outlandish branding, right? Like, would a white shoe law firm want to be? And they don't wear white shoes, by the way. They just call it white shoe law firm. But a white shoe law firm want to be in the same office building as Playboy? I don't know. Is that a good look? Maybe not. So I think this solves a really good problem. It's not like he created a solution for nothing.
And remember how we got here. So we started off this discussion talking about Playboy. Playboy was cutting edge at the time because they were printing a publication. They were selling a publication. They were mailing it, and in the mail, it was actually covered. So it would be sealed package, and inside would be your monthly magazine. They go ahead and they'd send it off, but they also had, great writers who were in there, a whole variety of writers. And then we start morphing into, if you remember in the 90s and the early 2000s, you really started to see the porn industry blow up. You had different groups around here in South Florida, which were pretty much putting it on the map. In fact, there was a front page Miami Herald story about a porn scene that was shot. What do they call it? Flagler Island, where the Flagler Memorial is, right off of the coast of West Avenue in Miami Beach. So, I
You're
want to, I don't know,
talking, is that Monument Island?
Monument Island. There you go. There with the Flagler. Yeah. Exactly. I think it was Flagler. Maybe it's not Flagler. I don't know. There's a monument on there. Front page story about how there was, this thing was going on. It's always kind of been around an economic development group, and I don't know if it was a beacon council or not, but they actually took a look at the economic impact, direct and indirect, related to, let's call it, the X industry, if you will, and it was fairly significant. The per capita number of let's say adult entertainment places. I don't know where it ranks nationwide, but I know when people come here, that is part of the mix. And then you bring in the 11 people who went ahead, they bought all the old Gold Rush sites, and they tried running it as a strip joint at first. After they rebuilt it, they had a restaurant on top. They had the ground floor was pretty much where the strippers were, and then the middle was like a luxury type of thing. And then it
Dancers,
morphed.
Peter.
Yeah, I'm sorry, performers, dancers. Yeah, yeah.
Performers.
And now it's sort of morphed into this whole type of anybody can kind of go. Take a look at Tootsie's. Tootsie's was a little strip joint that was located, what is it, Ivesbury Road and State Road 7 or
I think
441.
it's the largest cabaret in the country per square foot.
They sold their dirt to a developer who put in a Starbucks and other thing. They took the cash. They took over a failed BJ's. Think Costco, and they turned it into a strip joint. And then early on, they were selling
Funny,
luxury boxes.
it was called BJ's. Box store.
Yeah, yeah.
BJ's.
But they were selling luxury boxes at Tootsie's when they first opened. So if you were a corporate sponsor, you could buy a box just like you would at like a Marlins game, a Miami Dolphins game, a Miami Heat game to sort of participate. So it's really ingrained. And, don't forget, too, we also had King of Diamonds. King of Diamonds, which is now a Cadillac dealership.
You were very well read into this industry, Peter.
Well, I have a buddy who was doing a loan.
We all have a buddy. We all have a buddy.
Well, he was looking to do a book. He was looking to do a book on all this, and he wanted some field research. So, I went along and I was able to sort of, check out what the local situation was like. But basically, what I'm telling you is it's ingrained in the local community, and for Playboy to be coming here, maybe it's a whole new start of a niche, a polished, refined niche that taps into what we all know is already going on. Hence, Miami being this top destination for creators on OnlyFans.
So we're out of time on this topic. So buy, sell, hold on Playboy's move to South Beach, validating Class X office space.
I think it's a strong buy. And this is a pound the table buy because South Beach has run into some real problems in recent years. Its competition has got competition from Greater Downtown Miami, the mainland Wynwood, has sucked away a lot of Miami Beach's allure. This might be a way to kind of bring it back. So I'm a strong buy, pound the table buy on this one.
So am I, Peter. Speaking of Miami Beach, as we move on, and we've been talking about this quite a bit for the last few weeks, and we were just talking about the juxtaposition between Class X office space on Miami Beach, different culture than the Class A office space that's in Brickell. Now we're talking about condos, and you have ultra luxury in Brickell being led by the St. Regis, 1428, which is Tech. You have the Mandarin Oriental at Swire, and they're all trading for over $2,000 a square feet in pre-construction. Now you cross the bridge, you go about 5 miles, and you go to the Barrier Island, Miami Beach, and you have this collection of, and these aren't 200, 300, 400 unit buildings. We're talking anywhere from 20 to 50 units, but the price per square foot in these buildings They're over 4,000 square feet. Even in some of the legacy buildings, and I'm going to call Apogee a legacy building because we build so much here, but even the Apogee is trading for multiples of thousands of dollars per square foot. So what does the beach have that Brickell and the mainland doesn't have that allows them to justify these prices?
I mean, in my opinion, it's quality of life. Miami Beach is all about quality of life in terms of the planning, the zoning, the commissioners. They push quality of life over density. And I would revert back to, we all know the story. 1980s, Miami Beach runs into some real problems. You have the Marriott boat lift. You have these retirees who are passing on. It's a combination. South Beach becomes really crime ridden. You get a group or groups of investors out of New York led by a preservationist called Barbara Capman, and goes to save Art Deco. Remember, Art Deco is supposed to get torn down. They want to put up a bunch of high rises. That little district in South Beach that everybody's come to really love, and it's been photographed and shown all over the world. It's preserved. Gianni Versace parachutes in. He loves it. The models come. It's a cheap place to shoot. The Scarface movie comes out. It start Miami Vice, the TV series, which is still popular around the world, if you can believe that to that day. It starts to morph, it starts to change. And the new regime that's been running Miami Beach from the beginning, going back to Seymour Galber and others, a gentleman used to wear the bow tie and had the glasses. They were all about quality of life. Let's make this a quality of life place, and with it will come high prices, and that's ultimately what happened. Now juxtapose that to the mainland, where the mainland was basically extremely poor. 2000 census, Miami was the poorest big city in the country, and they needed to generate new development. Why? Because the coffers are filled with property taxes. 2% of your property taxes are 2%. A third goes to the city, a third to the county, a third to the school board. So Miami said, let's go high density. You want to put it up? Let's put it up. The planes, if the aviation's a problem, the FAA is a problem, we'll lobby on your behalf to overcome that problem. So you've had this dramatic change. So now quality of life is Miami Beach. You buy for posterity. It's a second home. It's inefficient. Mainland, where downtown Miami is, high density, 700 square foot, one beds, 1,000 square foot, two beds. Completely different world. So if you were a vacationer, if you've earned it, you're probably going to Miami Beach. If you're an investor looking for numbers, you're probably going to the mainland. And there are some crossovers, and that's the thing that kind of makes it interesting as the market evolves, at least from my perspective.
That's a really good point. I also want to bring up though that Miami Beach has been doing it for longer,
Yeah,
right?
oh, much longer, much longer.
So any of these, billionaire New Yorkers, and we always go back to the billionaire New Yorkers because they've come to South Florida for years and years and years and years. Well, when they were in their 20s coming to Miami, before they became billionaires, they were only multimillionaires at this time. In the 90s, Brickell was nothing. There was nothing there. And so you would vacate, you would go to the Fontainebleau and the Miami Beach, you would go to the Raleigh, you would go to the Shelbourne. And that's where these folks came to vacation. If they flew into Miami International Airport, they went directly to Miami Beach because there was nothing else. Coral Gables, even Coconut Grove, it was very much a suburb, right? And now Coconut Grove's hot. Gables is still, well, very affluent suburb, but a suburb nonetheless. It's far away from the central business district. And Miami Beach was always sort of this tourism second home hotspot. But now that let's say Brickell's come online really in the last 15 years as somewhere to live, not just, I'm commuting into Brickell, you don't go overnight from $200 a square foot to $2,000 a square foot. This has been a process. So
Yes.
Miami Beach has been working on this steady incline for decades, whereas Brickell has really only been doing this for like half an hour.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, you want a perfect example of that when you say Brickell. This is right over the river. But if you look at a project called One Miami, when the Related Group put it up, George Perez, right next to the Hotel Intercontinental on the north bank of the Miami River, he built that two-tower complex. One was supposed to be a rental, one was supposed to be a condo because he didn't think he could sell the damn project. If you look at the balconies on that building, you're going to see it's cheap ass metal. It's cheap as it can be. It's not glass like you would expect to see on
So
such a
that was
key.
anticipated to be a multifamily, not a condo.
It was supposed to be one rental, one condo. That was the first time he was sampling that particular market. Right there next to the Aston Martin. It's
Well,
shoehorned
that's
in
where
between the
Related's
Aston Martin.
headquarters was before he built
Correct.
Grove Tower.
Correct. But at the time when he was putting it up, they were like, "Oh my God, you're going north of the river," because Brickell had been the place where you would build. North of the river was kind of a no-go zone. So the way he tested it out, he took a great location and he built, I'd say, a B minus to C plus quality property.
That's
Where if
really
you were to do that
unfortunate
today,
because that is the most banging spot.
and it's mediocre at best location, quality of a condo, at least from my perspective. So just to give you an
Well,
idea, and
you do a
that
lot of
building
your
only came
walks.
online.
You do a lot of your walks in that
2005.
area that you're on your tours. What's the resale blend in that building right now in those twin buildings?